addressing you all from Kolkata. I am a teacher of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and today we are going to talk on one of the most important concepts which have come out from India, that is karma. Karma, its various consequences, and the principles of suffering. Dear friends, we all have heard the term karma one or the other time. Karma essentially means action, and action which not only affects your present life, but it also affects your many future lives. It affects the body you're going to acquire in your future life. It affects the quality of life, the experience of life you will have in this life and in your forthcoming lives. And it also decides the duration of your life, the lifespan. So karma has many facets to it, many interesting facets as per yoga. So we'll see it from the perspective of the Yoga Sutras. And I will try to throw light on what is all karma about and how you can use this concept of karma to elevate your life to the next highest level possible. How can you uplift yourself and your family members, your people in the society and the world to higher and higher levels of beautiful existence? So let us look at the various types of karma. Karma essentially, as per the definition in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, is essentially of 4 types. The first one is called white karma or good karma. The second is black karma or bad karma. The third is a karma which is gray in color, and this is the mixed karma. And the fourth is a karma which is colorless. That means no karma is being done. So let us look at them in detail. Yoga Sutras say that normally people are in the mixed karma category. Their life is full of actions which are a mix of good and bad. Their life is full of actions which are sometimes on the punya side and sometimes on the papa side. Sometimes the actions are virtuous and sometimes they're full of vice. So here we have a mix of karma. But there is one category of karma which happens in a yogi. A yogi produces no karma. So further down in this talk, we will look at a yogi and how is he able to manage to stop all karma which is going to affect his present life and his future life. Now, the various kinds of good karma which have been explained are tapas, disciplining of the body and the mind. When we put our body and mind under control, then we are generating good karma. Second is the chanting of mantras. Third is practicing meditation. Fourth is Ishvara Pranidhana. That means worshipping the Lord, worshipping Ishvara. Fifth is Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means doing self-study, study about who you truly are. Fourth is Vairagya, when you are practicing detachment. By these 5-6 methods and more such methods, you practice good karma. You bring in good pleasurable activities in your life. The bad karma are karmas which are harmful activities. You harm people who are essentially fearful in nature. You harm the weak or the helpless. You harm the noble-minded. You are involved in activities like lying, stealing, and unclean activities. So these are the bad karma. Now, what causes karma? Why do we act? What in us triggers action? We will find that kleshas are the cause of all that happens in our mind. Kleshas are obstacles in the mind. Kleshas are essentially 5 in nature. They are ignorance, ego, attachment, aversion, and fear of death. Now these kleshas, they, as a result of their being present, they produce karma. They produce those sanskaras in us which lead to karma, which lead to action. So kleshas are present inside us. Sanskaras are also present inside us as impressions on the chitta, impressions on the mind. But what happens is these impressions, which are internal in the mind, become external actions. They become external karma. And we inside us, we have a thing called karmasaya. Karmasaya actually means a storehouse of karma, a stock of karma. This karmasaya is there in the chitta, and these karmas come about because of kleshas. The root of karma, the root of all action in us originates in the kleshas. And as long as the kleshas are present, we will continue to act. We will continue to do karma. Karma in the form of thought, word, or deed. We will be living. This would create a life cycle. So, kleshas cause vrittis, vrittis cause sanskaras, sanskaras cause karmas, karmas go out in the world and act, and then they create further vrittis, further sanskaras, and further karmas. And this, dear friends, is called the cycle of jivan, the cycle of life, the cycle of sanskara and karmas. Now, if we have to control them, then where do we begin? We can only begin by controlling the kleshas. And the most important klesha, the most mother klesha of all these kleshas is ignorance, is avidya. We do not know who we truly are. We mistake ourselves as a mind and body entity, as a mind and body combination. And this leads to sorrow. This leads to human sorrow. But the moment we realize that we are not this body and mind combination, but we are beyond the body, beyond the mind, we truly are the soul, we truly are the Atma, we truly are the Purusha. It is only then that we are able to free ourselves from all sorts of sorrow, all sorts of dukkha, all sorts of pain, all sorts of suffering. Who on this planet would not like to be free from all sorrow, pain, suffering, and dukkha? I would think not even a single person on this planet. Even the other species, the animals, the birds, the fish, they all go through dukkha, they all go through suffering. All embodied beings face suffering. So, yoga is a method by which we can remove this suffering. We will see further down what is the methodology which yoga is suggesting and what is Patanjali Yoga Sutras suggesting by which we can remove our sorrow permanently. But let us understand karma now, because it is karma which leads to sorrow. So, dear friends, as long as these kleshas exist, as long as this ignorance in us exists, that we are the body and mind combination, we are actually producing, we are triggering karma, we are triggering action within us. And this is going outside and acting in the world through our organs of action. This is perpetuating life and suffering for us. So the way to remove karma is to work on the primary klesha of ignorance, because it is this klesha of ignorance which leads to other kleshas like ego. Ego crops up out of our ignorance of who we are, that we are the Purusha, we are the Atma, we are the soul. We are not this Prakriti, we are not this body-mind combination. Because of this, out of this ignorance, we get the ego. Out of this ignorance, we get attachment. Out of this ignorance, we get aversion. And out of this ignorance, we get the fear of death and many other fears which constrict and limit our life. So dear friends, let us look at what happens when we die. What happens when a human being dies or any living being dies. Inside our chitta is a collection of all the karmas that we have performed in this life and also which is there in us as a record of our previous lives. So when we die, all this information which is stored in the chitta moves as a subtle body into our next body of the next life. So what all moves along with us on our death? But before that, let us see what does not move along with us. This body, this matter, does not move along with us. It stays on the planet. This body is constituted of the Pancha Mahabhutas. It is constituted of the 5 gross elements. These 5 gross elements are Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. So these 5 are left behind and we move forward, we move on with the ego, which is the ahankara, the intellect, which is the buddhi, the mind, which is the manas, the subtle elements, the tanmatras, the gyan indriyas, the senses of perception, the karma indriyas, the senses of action, and all our recordings which are there in the chitta, they go to the next life. They go and form the next body. So our sanskaras, our karmic account, the karma shaya, the kleshas which we have, 5 of them, the vrittis, they all move. They all go into the next body and they form the next body. So dear friends, we find that it is our karmic account which decides what body we will take in our next life. Because yoga and Sankhya and many other religions, many other philosophies from the land of India believes in the theory of reincarnation, believes in the theory of life after death. So this is the philosophy, this is the explanation that our karmas decide our next life. Now, what do these karmas lead to? In our present life, these karmas lead to 2 essential activities, and they are what shape up life for us. They are what bring about happiness or sorrow in our life. So karmas essentially lead to either pleasure or to pain. And what are the karmas in a yogi? So as I was discussing initially when we started this talk, a yogi is not generating any karma. His karma has no color. But common people have mixed color, gray color for their karma. Whereas it is a mix of good karma and bad karma. So that is why common people usually generate gray karma. But a yogi is beyond the common people. With his practice of meditation and samadhi, he has been able to achieve liberation. So all his karmas which are active in this life, they remain with him and they play out. They are called the prarabdha karma. Karma which is already active, which is meant for fruition, completion in this life. That is prarabdha karma. Prarabdha remains with the yogi. But all collected karmas which were meant to be transmigrated, to be shifted to the next life or the life, they are called sanchita karmas. All those karmas are burned through the process of meditation, samadhi, and knowledge, discriminatory knowledge. A yogi is able to burn up all his karmas which are yet to fructify, which are yet to turn into physical action in the world outside. So such a yogi is not producing any new karma, and he just lives on his existing karmic account. So if in his prarabdha, if in his existing karmic account, he is due to fall sick, then he will fall sick. Though he might be a liberated yogi, he might be a Jivan Mukta yogi. He has, through his meditative practices, been able to free himself from all past collected karmic account, all past collected sanskaras, all past collected kleshas. He is free from them. But even then, in this life, he may fall sick because that is a part of prarabdha karma which he has to live out in this life. And as long as the prarabdha karma is working in him, he will live. And the day the prarabdha will be over and his death will be written in his karma, he will pass away. Though he may be a liberated yogi. So now, Patanjali in his 14th sutra of the second chapter points out that the karmic account, the karma saya, the collection of karma which we have, leads to different types of birth, leads to different spans of life and the life experience. And they bear fruit in the form of pleasure or pain. And this pleasure or pain which they bear fruit, it depends purely on the performance of either virtue or vice caused by that action, by that karma. So friends, let us look at what is triggering all this. It is all being triggered by ignorance. It is all because of ignorance leading to an ego, and the ego is giving birth to attachment. So when we are doing certain activities which we are liking, which is giving us pleasure, we develop an attachment for it. It remains in our memory as a pleasurable experience. And next time we look for that kind of an experience, we have a desire. And when the right conditions are nearby, then we go out of our way. We get motivated to act. It leads us to action, to karma. So pleasure, attachment can lead to karma, can lead to action. And similarly, having an experience of pain, having an experience of sorrow would get recorded in our chitta as a painful experience, as a sorrowful experience. And this will cause aversion for that experience. This will cause a kind of an hatred for that experience. So dear friends, we have seen that our karmas decide our birth. It means the species of birth, whether you will be born as a crow, a rat, a vulture, a worm, an insect, a fish, is decided by your current karmic. The span of your life, the number of years you will live in that species, in that body, is also decided by your karmas at the last moment of your life, just before you die. And similarly, the kind of experiences you will have in your life, the quality of life you will lead, is also dependent on the karmic account, the karma saya you are holding now. So dear friends, let's move on. Let's go to the next sutra. This is a sutra where Patanjali and other philosophers, other commentators, they talk about dukkha, they talk about pain, they talk about suffering. You see, Patanjali points out that this whole life, whole existence is nothing but a big story of dukkha, suffering, pain. And yoga is a method to alleviate that suffering, to remove that sorrow permanently so that one can experience permanent happiness. I will share with you what is this yogic philosophy and how does it work in 4 simple statements, which are considered to be the 4 guiding principles of the yogic philosophy, right from the problem to the identification of the cause of the problem, to the solution to remove the problem, and actually removing that problem. So what is the problem? The problem is dukkha, the problem is suffering, the problem is pain. So Patanjali says, person who have viveka. Viveka means who have the power of discrimination, who have that intelligence. They find out, they come to know that all karma, all action leads to dukkha, leads to suffering, leads to pain. So this is surprising. How can all action lead to pain? We will come to it. We will see it in a bit of detail. And the second point which Patanjali raises is the world by itself is a constant source of pain, constant source of dukkha. So all action that we take is creating dukkha for us. And even if we are not taking any action, any karma, the world by itself is a source of constant pain, constant dukkha. And the third, he says, in our mind, we have these psychic impressions, these imprints, these sanskaras, which are stored in our chitta, as memories. They also lead to dukkha or sorrow. So whatever our mind contains, whatever information we have stored, whatever ideas, concepts we have stored in our mind, that also is the cause of sorrow and dukkha. And he goes on further. He gives the fourth reason of dukkha. He says the vrittis. Vrittis means our mind is constantly going through a fluctuation. It is constantly changing. Our states of the mind are not constant. Mind is a constantly modifying entity. So when these modifications are taking place, then we are again experiencing dukkha. And when the gunas also by their very nature cause regular dukkha or sorrow. Why do the gunas by their regular nature cause sorrow? Because these gunas, they are constantly fluctuating. They comprise the three gunas of rajas, sattva and tamas. Rajas means constant change. Tamas means inertia, non-change, non-activity. And sattva means lightness, goodness, luminosity or formlessness. So we find that these three are not steady, are not constant, but they are always existing. So our vrittis at times can be predominantly sattvic, can become predominantly rajasic, can become predominantly tamasic. So this rajas and tamas keeps on happening. This sattva keeps on happening. They keep on trying to dominate each other. So the change is constant. And this constant change is also the cause of sorrow. So the types of dukkha which have been referred to by Patanjali in the sutra, and this is one of the most important sutras of the entire Yoga Sutras, because it is defining every activity as dukkha. This is defining this world as a place of dukkha. This is defining all the recordings which we have in our mind as the cause of dukkha. This is defining all the vrittis, all the ideas, concepts, thoughts which we are entertaining are constantly subject to change. So this is the cause of dukkha. So friends, here we see something very interesting. Our thoughts cause pain. Our mind causes pain. Our actions cause pain, and this world causes pain. So sorrow is coming from our thoughts. Dukkha is coming from our thoughts. Dukkha is coming from our mind. Dukkha is coming from our actions, and dukkha is coming from this world. So whatever you do, is there anything left? If you think, you are causing dukkha. If you are doing, you are causing dukkha. If you are storing whatever is happening around you, that is causing dukkha. And if you are doing nothing and just allowing the world to do and act, then that also is causing dukkha. So dukkha is a omnipresent kind of an entity as per the yogic understanding. And because yoga says dukkha is a persistent, permanent problem of human existence, so a permanent, perfect solution has to be found for it. And that permanent, perfect solution is what we will discuss. But what it essentially says is, when we are able to separate out our understanding of the mind being distinct and different from our soul, from our Atma, from our Purusha, then that is when we find all our pain and sorrow will go. Because our ignorance, which is the cause of all dukkha, kleshas are the cause of all dukkha, because kleshas cause this whole mental activity, the vrittis, the sanskaras, the karmas. So kleshas are the cause of dukkha, and they can be removed only when we remove ignorance, because kleshas are caused by the primary reason of ignorance. And what is this ignorance we are talking about? This ignorance is not knowing who we truly are, believing that what which is temporary to be permanent, believing that we are the body and mind and not the soul, believing that the body which is unclean to be clean and beautiful, believing that this mind and body combination is eternal, which it is not, believing that the soul and the mind are one, not being able to differentiate and discriminate between the two. Whereas the reality is the soul, the Atma, the Purusha, is merely a seer. He is the drashta. He is seeing what is happening. And the mind is purely a means of observation, a tool by which the observation process happens. So they two are different entities. The moment we realize this, we achieve this, we will find all sorrow will disappear. So let us delve a bit more into this. Patanjali uses the word parinama. All results in this outer world will cause you pain, because there is an ever-changing nature of everything. Second, he says that within the internal body and mind, when you are alone by yourself, then also you will experience dukkha and pain. It will come because of anxiety, because of stress, because of worries, because of illness. So dukkha will be part of you, and dukkha will come because of external beings. Dukkha will come because of other people around you. Could be family members, could be insects, could be mosquitoes. So they will also cause dukkha. And dukkha can also come to you because of nature, because of environment. So you are not shielded and protected from dukkha, all-time dukkha. But there is a way, there is a method by which we can come free from all this, by which we can become liberated from all this. And that is what is the goal of yoga. That is what is the goal of many of the philosophies from the ancient spiritual land of India. Now, sanskaras also, as we discussed earlier, can cause pain. And chitta vrittis, the thoughts which keep on propping up in the mind, they also cause pain and sorrow. Now, I was telling you about the four guiding principles of yoga. The science of yoga has four principles, four understandings to it. And if you understand these four, then there is nothing more to understand. You become a yogi. You reach the highest state of existence. You become free from all sorrow. You become liberated. You become a Kevalya person. So the first element which you need to understand is this samsara, this world. That is the first. Second, you need to understand what is the cause of this samsara. Where has this world come from? Who is causing this world? So first is samsara. Second is knowing the cause of this samsara. And once you know that cause, third is to achieve freedom from this samsara, because this samsara is the cause of suffering and dukkha. And fourth is, what are the means by which one can achieve this freedom? So, yoga philosophers say, yoga experts and commentators say, samsara, this world, is a disease that has to be removed. Yes, this world is a disease that has to be removed. And what is the cause of this disease? The cause of this disease sprouting up in our life is the contact which happens between Purusha and Prakriti, or it is the contact, the conjoining together of our soul and our body and mind combination. It is the coming together of our Atma and our mana and sharira, when they come together, they cause sorrow, they cause suffering. So the suffering is there in the coming together, in the contact point between the Prakriti and the Purusha. So another way of understanding this is, we know this whole existence is a combination of spirit, mind and matter. So it is the mind in between the spirit and matter which is the cause of all sorrow. And one needs to have freedom from this cause. So how can you have freedom from this cause? What is the method which can be used? So let us go a bit into detail. So he says, freedom from samsara is the stoppage of this contact. If we figure out a way to stop the contact between the soul and the body-mind combination, between the Purusha and the Prakriti, then we will realize that it is no longer causing sorrow. Now, what is the means? There is only one way by which it can be done. And this means is through knowledge. Through knowledge, we can break this contact between the soul and the body-mind combination. So the question now comes is, what has Patanjali suggested to achieve this goal of yoga? So I will just list down 4 sutras. You can note down the numbers, and if you have the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, you can go through them in detail, or you can get them from the net. Sutra number 2.16, where he mentions that future suffering has to be removed. What we have suffered, we have already suffered. But the suffering of the future, we have to remove. We can avoid it. So how can we avoid that? That he has given the cause first. He says in Sutra 217 that the cause of this suffering is the contact between the Purusha and the Prakriti. That means the contact between the body-mind and the soul. So in Sutra 225, he explains freedom from suffering happens when we remove ignorance. Why? Because ignorance is the primary mother Glacier, and it is ignorance which creates the mind in the first place. It is ignorance in the form of Glacier which creates all the mental activities and the mental storage So we have to achieve freedom from the Glacier of ignorance. And how can ignorance be removed? He answers that in Sutra number 226. He says the means of attaining this freedom from the contact is through uninterrupted discriminative discernment. So without interruption, if you are able to discriminate and discern the joining of the mind and the soul, and just by that knowledge, by that power of discrimination, by that ability to separate it out mentally, you will be able to free yourself. Just because we are not able to identify the two separately, we see the mind and the soul as one entity, and this leads to problems. But the moment we sharpen our intellect through yogic practice, we increase our ability of viveka, the ability to discriminate, then we are able to find the dividing line between the mind and the soul. And then once when we find the dividing line between the mind and the soul, and we are able to see it, that is when sorrow disappears. That is when enlightenment takes place. That is when Kevalya takes place. That is when freedom, liberation of the soul from the mind, from the body combination takes place. And that is the goal of yoga. That is the goal of Sankhya. That is the goal of many philosophies from the spiritual land of India. So my dear friends, in conclusion, I would like to say that it is the kleshas, the original starting point, the obstacles to yoga, which cause karma. And karma by itself causes life and our next lives. So our this life and next lives are in a way dependent upon kleshas. And these are the kleshas which cause sorrow. So when we remove our ignorance, the primary klesha, then we achieve freedom from sorrow. And the means of achieving that freedom is very simple: uninterrupted discriminative discernment. Yes, dear friends, by uninterrupted discriminative discernment, you will find that you are free. You will find you are free of your mind. You will find you are liberated. You will be in a world which is beyond compare. It is a feeling which probably cannot be described. It has to be experienced. And I'm sure you will understand and go on to that path. Is it achievable in one life form, in one lifetime? Yes, it is achievable. Nowhere in his Patanjali Yoga Sutras has Patanjali ever mentioned that it takes multiple lifetimes to achieve Kevalya, achieve liberation, achieve moksha. So it is very much doable. And this is the master key. This is the key to permanent happiness. And this is the goal we want to help you achieve. This is the goal with which we are working to bring this permanent happiness, this knowledge of liberation, this knowledge of perfect happiness to 200 crore families on this planet, so that each and every family experiences bliss, experiences permanent happiness. We hope that you will be able to pass on this knowledge which we are sharing with you on a consistent basis with your family members, with members of your society, with the members of your country, and with people of this world at large. Thank you so much for being here today and listening patiently to this talk. This is a very important talk. I'm sure the next time when you listen to this, please take a notepad and make notes. And if you have learned something interesting, something fruitful, something which will take your life, transform your life, and take it to the next level, which will help you transcend your present state of existence to the next higher, beautiful state of existence, then do please put in your comments and please pass on this video to other like-minded friends. Let us start a movement on this planet, a movement to heal our planet completely, to bring complete happiness to each and every soul on our planet. Thank you. With these prayers, I close. Thank you so much for being here. May God bless you. May all your dreams and desires come true. May you become a liberated person, and may you bring about change and transformation within yourself, your family, the society, the country, and the people of this world at large. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.